Hi, everyone. So it's the day of New Year's Eve, and it's kind of a slow day. And I wanted to make a video about this 21-minute video of Steven Crowder. Now, he does this series called Change My Mind. And if you're trapped in this sort of left versus right paradigm and you're on the right, then you think everything he's saying is great. And he's picking on these college kids who apparently can't even tell him anything good. So I kind of have a problem with this, and with the rise of video channels like Actual Justice Warrior, who sets straight certain facts from TYT and others. I thought I'd make a video of my own. Now, I don't have a catchy title, so it's just me. Hi, guys. All right, so I'm just going to play this unedited and comment on it, just to show you that, again, I agree with Steven Crowder on some things, but a lot of stuff on both the left and the right is sort of these guys posturing and not really getting anything proven. So this is an example of it. And yeah, I'll just set up to sort of, kind of debunk what he's saying and criticize it on its own terms. So let's go.
So you're getting very emotional.
Okay? This is serious.
Yes, of course it's serious.
All right. So first of all, he's cherry picking exactly the moments that would make the most entertainment. But of course, there's a reason why this is happening, and I'll get into that. Anyways.
Privileged male.
I stop.
Why do you have to?
Oh, he cut it. There he is. A white privileged male. He's wearing a white shirt too, which makes him double white.
Because illegal to kill a male rapist when that male could just not rape in the first place.
I know.
He's cussing, and look at this.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. Wouldn't it be fucking great?
Yes.
Do you know why?
Wouldn't it be great if men didn't rape?
Yeah.
Who are you arguing
Wow, there you go. Easy win. You weren't even arguing.
with?
So what is going on here? So I'm guessing that Steven Crowder is having this thing where he sets up his little booth over here. It's not really a booth. It's a table with a microphone and nice cups. I actually want to get some for myself with my brand, if I ever think of it. And he's kind of reading a book and waiting for people to talk to him. I like to do this. And then, I guess he trolls people and tries to get them into a conversation about this topic. He's actually a very nice guy, by the way. I should say that. I wonder what's in that cup.
It's the latest installment
Feel the burn.
of Change My Mind. This time, male privilege is a myth. This is going to be fun. Hey, really quickly, want to hear from you. Which subjects would you like to see most going forward with Change My Mind? We've done pro.
How about Medicare for all? Or can we stop polluting the earth and maybe the atmosphere? I would try to come on campus, but I'm not a college student.
Gun, pro-life, male privilege is a myth. There are two genders. Comment below, and we'll be doing them in the future. We'll get to the unedited segment interview in a second, but one thing that I want to...
I just want to say one thing is that there are only two genders or all this stuff. I mean, these are important issues, but obviously the health insurance for millions of Americans or whether the earth will be livable in 30, 40 years in other areas are kind of very important issues. And I feel that talking about, we're too mired in these sort of little smaller things compared to the systemic things, and we waste the political capital on getting actual stuff done that may be important, but hey, it's entertaining.
To note is that with these Change My Mind segments, we can go hours without a single person sitting down willing to have a conversation. That's the part you don't see. We'll sit down, set up, and sometimes it's 30 minutes, 45, sometimes it's several hours, and as soon as one person sits...
Yeah, he's like, I don't really want to engage, I guess, and this guy's like on his phone. He's probably this guy's buddy. And let me morph into Sherlock Holmes. So this guy has an interesting backpack. He's probably coming from school. There's 4 backpacks, so there's other people here probably. And then this guy's on his phone, probably waiting for his friends. While Steven Crowder is drinking from 2 mugs, obviously because he wants the other person to come here. There's probably nothing in this mug. So anyway, back to the show.
Angry leftists surround and feel safe yelling from the mob. All of a sudden, I can't get to everyone fast enough.
I wonder if that group dynamic would take hold if it was a leftist in some sort of right-wing community. But who knows?
Got it. Great. So if you had proof, the statistics of according to the FBI. Wait, someone just booed, right?
We noted a boo. We noted a boo, and we would like to extend an invitation. Should you like to?
I'm really okay.
Aww.
Well, you can sit down. You can sit down afterwards. We'll do it. I appreciate it. Yeah, you want your turn. What was that? Continue my bullshit. Well, there you go. That's always a sign of an intellectual titan. But you'll.
I don't know. I think the word bull is a little less than the F word or whatever. But I am probably wrong about that. It's just my personal. I sometimes say BS.
You'll get a chance at that, sir. Now, we'll come back to this gentleman in a minute. He's actually the subject of today's long-form, unedited interview. I won't bore you with many conversations because there wasn't all that much productive to glean from it. If you look even at our SMU interviews, the one aggressive feminist kind of took over. It was confrontational, but all of the others were really productive. Every other Change My Mind we've ever done has been pretty productive. But I noticed when discussing the idea of male privilege.
I actually give him props for that. If he's saying it's been pretty productive, I wonder what he means by that, but I'm guessing he means that substance was discussed and brought up by participants, and so that's pretty cool.
Or any privilege for that matter on campus. Not only was pretty much everyone hostile off the bat, but not a single person
Okay, everyone was hostile off the bat is his claim, and not a single person
provided any substantive argument.
Not a single person provided any substantive argument. Now, think about how these videos are made. He basically sits down, he interviews a bunch of people, he selects what he wants, he fast forwards what he wants, he says it's unedited, so I guess he's just going to be fast forwarding this. I don't know. You can't hear what they're saying. But the one person that he does focus on a lot, those claims that he makes don't seem to hold up. So that's just about this video. Let's see it.
Every single point, without fail, was anecdotal. What rights are afforded in 2018 to men exclusively that aren't afforded to women?
I feel your male privilege is a myth. I feel like...
This is serious.
Oh, so she actually just agrees with him.
Yes, of course it's
I'm a
serious.
white privileged male.
Of course I chose it, of course, but I mean, the reason why I chose it then, like, shapes other opinions.
My friend
me names.
raped within the first 2 weeks of coming to...
So if you're going to cut all this and you're proving that no one had anything substantive to say, I just have to take your word for it, I guess.
to the school as a freshman.
This also might be why, despite having a permit, the gender studies professors who, along with their students, teach the injustice of police brutality inherently within the system, called the police on us simply for disagreeing. Quick!
Okay, so he basically has permits to do this, so it's a whole premeditated thing, and then he kind of applies. That's pretty cool, too, I guess. Ooh, let's see. We've got flags in the back, and what's this campus, TCU?
Bring in the patriarchy. So we weren't really able to finish our conversations in the first place, and at this point, when everything was anecdotal, I kind of just have to pick one. Enter this guy, the person you...
Okay, so he's picking this guy. I'm not sure why they couldn't finish the conversations in the first place, but again, none of this is explained. He's trying to prove, I guess, that all these people are just not woke, or whatever the word is these days. They just don't know the truth. So please enlighten everyone.
Saw before, who was yelling and cussing at me beforehand, who also stayed to yell and cuss at students after.
This guy. Well, normally when you do this, you think this guy is totally like, so you're going to debunk him so fast. You're so sure of your position. That's what his body language is saying. He is supremely confident. Let's see what he's going to talk about.
Your word.
Like, I've never heard
You
of
don't
it.
see it?
No, I don't.
You're not a white girl, bro. You're not a girl.
Well, he's definitely supremely confident.
Raise your hand if you know someone's been raped on this campus.
Yes. Raise your hand if you think rape is a horrible thing.
Okay, wait. So this is how many people know someone who has been raped on this campus. There's a guy. There's a girl. There's a girl now. I guess they're just all, if the 1 in 5 statistic is false, and personally, if you look at the at many people, including I forgot her name, the something feminist, she says it's about 1 in 50. Okay, but whether it's 1 in 5 or 1 in 50, it is still far too high. And look at these hands. So okay, let's just whatever. This guy has 2 hands up. That's not fair. It's cheating. Okay, that's still a lot of people. And yes, rape is a terrible thing. And of course, definitions of rape vary. So, I guess I'm not going to get into that very much right now because then it's not my video. Go ahead.
Watch and make your own decisions. No, come up and debunk my bullshit.
All right. Well, he's just saying the word bull crap. I don't know.
It's always a great way to start a civil conversation. What's your name, sir?
Gregory.
Gregory.
Yes.
Hey, my name is Gregory.
Yeah, okay. So
I need some cool nickname, though. In the comments below, please suggest something not too dirty.
why the anger and profanity? That was such a civil conversation.
I'll answer your question. So anger and profanity, because this is an extremely sensitive topic.
I don't think that saying BS is profanity, but again, I could be wrong.
And I think it's almost ironic you come like such a university that has such a problem with male privilege. And I know you guys, the last conversation was a lot about racial things, and you want to talk about laws, but I want to talk about really about the practicality. So
he wants to talk about male privilege as opposed to other subjects. Okay.
Practically, I don't have a car here, so sometimes I like to go down, I go to yoga. When I walk back, it's at nights. I have my headphones on. I have like a hoodie on, so I don't know.
Dude, yoga! You are such a leftist woke tree hugger guy. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
wasn't really conscientious of that my entire life until a year ago. I was on the phone with my friend, and she said she needed to get her textbook from her car, and it was like probably 11:30 at night, and she just wouldn't do it because she didn't feel comfortable. She didn't feel safe.
Sure.
And so that's something that's inherent as a male, biologically larger, and just like women. That's an inherent privilege.
Inherent privilege as a male.
Privilege, where I can
biological privilege.
Biologically, you're going to be larger, taller, and you can overpower a woman. And for the most part.
So you're saying that
male. All right. So basically, he's saying that men can walk around by themselves, get stuff even at night. Women are kind of a little apprehensive about that, possibly because males are attracted to them, they're bigger, and they're worried about getting raped, say, for example, or having to deal with certain, I guess, unwanted advances or molestation. I don't know. But that's certainly an issue that many women would agree with and support. And so he became aware of it. He's telling this guy, and this guy says...
Male, female is biological, first off. That's a premise.
I'm saying there's both.
All right, so he's back on his other video, which is that male and female is there are only two genders, and somehow he's bringing that video into this video.
Logical and societal. And there's also systemic. Systemic's going to be where it's just ingrained in the society.
Okay.
So
could you, for example, explain to me what the difference would be between a biological male versus a systemic male?
He never said biological male or systemic male. He never said there are more than two genders. He's simply saying biologically men are bigger and stronger than women. And he's trying to sort of derail it into his other video. This is one thing is he's going to try to do this on several topics, but this guy's like, what are you talking about? I'm just talking about men being bigger than women. And so this ensues. He's like, what?
2 words.
I did not say there's a difference between a biological male and systemic male. I'm talking about systemic male privilege and biological.
Okay, well, you said biologically men are bigger and stronger, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we agree on the premise
let me clarify for you.
You're
biologically, males have privilege because they are larger. Because of that, they have a certain safety afforded to them where they can go out and then they don't have to worry about. You had a horrible comparison earlier about how males are more vulnerable to being like.
All right. Well, first of all, a very simple point was made, and Steven Crowder is like, let's see. Biological is two genders. What is a systemic male? Are you trying to say that maybe it's a construct? Maybe it's not real? No, he's talking about just men being bigger. Okay, that is a simple point. He should have just been, if he's intellectually honest, like, yes, okay, I get it.
To being like burglarized or whatever your thing was.
Oh, and now the problem he has done is he's invited a whole other aside, a new topic, and now Steven Crowder can take this red herring and run with it. Whee, herring!
Oh, no, that wasn't what I said.
Okay, what did you say? They're more likely to be like experience violence
than
women are.
Can I answer? No,
not by the opposite gender though.
Can I answer?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, they're statistically more likely to be victims of violent crime across the board.
By which gender?
No, when you just said, do you mean gender, biologically, or systemically?
Oh, come on, again. So this guy made one mistake, is that he switched subjects, and he was supposed to just be super clear, like, hey, men are larger than women, therefore women cannot just go and get their stuff from their car without worrying about, guys trying to chase them down or something.
What the fuck is this systemic
you just said there were differences between biological, societal, and systemic. I want to make sure we're talking about.
Are you kidding? This is how he proves that leftists are idiots, right? This is how he does it, by just completely doing a straw man about his other video that this guy's not even talking about, and confusing the heck out of him. Heck, by the way, not, expletives.
Yeah, because you're forgetting the privilege.
I'm forgetting the systemic privilege.
You just said
let's assume
a biological gender and systemic gender.
Okay, well, okay,
There's no such thing as a systemic gender. Difference is
okay. Hold on a second.
Biological.
Look at this guy's laughing. He's like, you're forgetting the privilege, systemic gender. It starts to sound. He's making this guy sound like an idiot. But all he said is that men are larger than women, and then he kind of derailed into this other topic where he heard him before, and he seems to say that men can be victimized by other men also, which is true. Men are bullied in a young age, for example, at a young age. Growing up, they can get beat up. I've experienced it myself. It's not pleasant. And certainly girls being molested by larger men or something like that, or boys being beat up by larger people, both are very unpleasant. One involves sexual organs, the other does not, and so on. But at the end of the day, assault is not cool. And yeah, again, I'm just stating sort of facts. We can continue.
Gender privilege. Don't forget the privilege. It's very important.
Yeah, it's very important to remember the privilege. Yeah. Okay. Violent crime, many of them would be committed by men at large. Domestic violence is very comparable.
Domestic violence is very comparable. So he's basically now throwing out, and look at his face. He's like, come on, get me. Okay, so let's get this. So women initiate domestic violence just as much as men. This kind of study, right? if the men are larger, okay, the women are not exactly beating these men over the head with a crowbar or something. They're basically, there have been studies that in couples that fight, the women initiate sort of the arguments just as much as men. Abuse is very loosely defined here. But if you're saying that men are beat up by women just as much as women are beat up by men, that's wrong. And that's not what the studies are saying, actually, if you read them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying
domestic violence would be committed on the same rate from biological women to men as...
Yeah, he thinks he's got him, and he doesn't understand what he's even talking about right now.
Men to women.
The presumption that men who are more like vulnerable to violence is by other men.
Statistically, having more being the victim of violent crime, yes. Statistically, also being the victim of domestic abuse.
That those victims...
See, violent crime perpetrated by, let's say, men, mostly, and that's why we profile men. If a violent crime has been committed, again, the man is more likely to be profiled as the perpetrator versus domestic abuse. We got to define this domestic abuse because, again, it's just not comparable. Women are not giving men black eyes and guys are going into work saying, oh, I just fell. Okay, this is not exactly what's happening. So let's not be disingenuous about it, Mr. Crowder.
Those male victims are mostly being victimized by other men.
Sure, let's go with it, yeah.
Sure? You think that's unlikely?
No, I didn't say it's unlikely. Okay. Let's go with that.
Okay, well, I think we can all agree on that. And then, so for women, they don't have that. Biologically, we're still on the biological part.
Right.
When they're smaller, when they can be overpowered more easily, they don't have the same privilege.
See, okay. First of all, he's making the same point he started out with. Crowder is sort of, he wants to make this funny, entertaining, but it's not really hard. It's not easy to make something like this funny. So he's kind of just has to listen now.
When they can't go running by themselves.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Because you never let me finish my one sentence. You came in cussing at me, so I'm going to finish my sentence. And if you want to listen to that.
Okay, so he's going to finish his sentence, even though he interrupted him. But hey, it's like he's interrupting him, really, but he's not, but whatever. Yes.
It'd be great. If you don't have to. What I'm talking about here is privilege. I do not see it as a privilege having a violent crime committed against you at a multiple rate likelihood, whether it is committed by a male, but the man who is getting violently assaulted, I do not believe is more privileged than the woman who isn't. Statistically, that's the likelihood. It's not a privilege.
It is because biologically, that male who's being assaulted by another male has a better chance of defending themselves than a female who is being assaulted by a male.
Okay, so that's finally a second topic. Now, before we get into the second topic, I do want to say that men do, in fact, face a lot of dangers, a lot of violence. They're the ones sent to war, usually by societies. They're the ones who die in combat or get injured and get their arms blown off. They're the ones who work on construction projects, usually in dangerous jobs like tree logging, and they certainly face more death in the workplace. Never mind, the pay gap. I'm talking about the death gap. So those are all legitimate subjects that could be talked about, gender versus gender and who is the bigger victim and how society exploits either gender. But it's true that society does give different roles to different people. And yes, men are stronger than women. So one privilege is that they can beat up a woman anytime, and a woman can't just beat up a man anytime. Now, is that a privilege most people use? No. But the threat is only felt usually by a woman speaking to a larger man. Okay, let's continue.
And that's the gender difference. We're going to talk about male privilege.
Sure.
We have to talk about the influence on the opposite gender. I don't give a about when you're talking.
Oh, yeah, stop cussing, bro. But yes, if you're talking about male privilege, I guess that's vis-a-vis females, right? So why are you talking about man-on-man violence?
About like male-on-male crime.
Really? I do.
This is not what it's about. If you want to talk about that,
sure
talk about crime. Let's talk about crime.
See, he's willing to talk about that stuff. He's just saying that's not the subject that you sat down with.
We're talking about male privilege,
yes,
and I'm bringing up the biological inherent difference.
Okay, at this point, do you think that nothing of substance has been said? I mean, this guy has said men are larger than women, so therefore women can actually, wow, I don't know, this woman seems a bit bored. But anyways, women want to go get stuff from their car. They have to think twice. Men don't have to think twice. So women have less freedom. And of course, this was true in the past when women didn't own cars at the rate of men. So they needed a man to drive them around. They couldn't get around so much. Back when cars didn't exist, there were horses. Obviously, women needed men to drive them around, etc. Most women. Do they have that today? Is there still some of that today? Yes, you need physical strength does play a role. Speed of running does play a role in some ways. And other factors do as well. So this guy actually made some valid points. He made another point that he's about to get onto, but Crowder is talking about male-on-male violence. So that's not really the subject. But Crowder's wrong that this guy didn't make any substantive points, but it's only the beginning. Let's continue.
Differences between the genders.
I agree on that. I agree that biology determines sex and gender.
Yes, of course, because that's your other video, and you have to bring that into this, which is totally unrelated right now.
Gender, yeah.
are less likely and less capable of defending themselves against the opposite gender.
Sure.
Biological.
Listen, I agree.
differences.
That's why I'm a huge supporter of women concealing.
All right. So he agrees. So wait a second. So he agrees that men do inherently have things they don't have to worry about that women do have to worry about. It's not like this woman right now is getting worried about all these men around, right? But if it was nighttime, yeah, I think women do and are told, brought up to worry about this stuff. And we live in a pretty nice society, actually, compared to other societies still around, where, there are some rapes among castes, like a higher caste in India could rape someone in a lower caste. There are certainly a lot of things around the world, like child trafficking and human trafficking of women and selling them into prostitution and slavery. And there's also child brides, and there's also honor killings and many other things. So, so compared to that, yes, women have way less to worry about in this country.
Stealing and carrying.
Okay, that's a completely different subject.
Okay, so he just said that he wants women to carry guns, and the guns are the great equalizer, and that shooting someone is the answer, basically, to how you can equalize the power between men and women.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not at all.
Oh, so now that he talked about male privilege, and it didn't get into there are only two genders video, now he's going to try to get into another right-wing talking point, which is the Second Amendment and how these cities are totally taking it away from everybody.
I'm saying it's a different subject because
I don't want. The point is, you're trying to set the premise as though for some reason women are less likely. Can I respond?
2 seconds. This is not about male on male crime, and this is not about access.
He's going to count the seconds.
The firearms right now. I want to talk about the practical livelihood or existence of white.
We want to talk about.
He is talking about the day-to-day experience of men versus the day-to-day experience of women, because privilege is basically talking about that, the day-to-day experience of one versus the other. It is not talking about firearms necessarily, but firearms are somewhat related, I suppose. This is one solution. It's just the threat of killing the person threatening you.
Systemic privilege. We want to talk about systemic privilege?
No, not systemic privilege. Systemic privilege is when there is a system of oppression, like, for example, if there is... it could be official or unofficial. So in some countries, they systemically discriminate against certain people, certain minorities, for example, or undesirable people. That is systemic. You could have something which is widespread, but not coordinated. So systemic privilege is not the only type of privilege. In fact, in this country, you'd be hard-pressed to maybe prove there's systemic, coordinated racism. But you could also say there is something widespread. There could be something widespread without being coordinated and an official policy.
No, hold on a second. You said 2 seconds. That was about 18. Okay, I'm going to speak now, and I'm not going to cuss at you. So,
I told you he was counting, and he's not going to cuss.
So the point is, we are talking about systemic privilege. No one at any point, I'm still open to it, anyone can sit down, has given me any example of a right afforded to a man, not afforded to a woman. That's what we're really talking about.
Okay, so finally he defines what he's looking for, but of course that's not what people talk about when they say male privilege. They're not talking about how, before women weren't allowed to vote and now they can. Women weren't able to go to college and now they can and graduated larger rates than men. Women couldn't work in corporate jobs and now they can. We're not talking about, hey, women are not accepted as firefighters as much as men, or women aren't doing the jobs that are traditionally done by men, which involve heavy physical labor. Okay? Male privilege is talking about the experience of a male versus a female. And by the way, women have female privilege, okay? Having a man defend you and risk his life to defend you, okay, is also a privilege. Having a man save the women and children from the Titanic and other, women and children first is a privilege. Having the man risk his life to either put out a fire or do other things is a privilege. Women don't have to go to war, okay? There are many things where men risk their lives and they're expected to, and that's a female privilege. Another female privilege is that men usually also make the first move when they approach, not always, but they're expected to put a lot more effort in the beginning to start a relationship. So yes, those are all privileges. It's still a privilege that women expect men to open the door for them sometimes and pay for them and so on. Not all women, but those are privileges that women enjoy. So why can't there be privileges that men enjoy? This is what happens. Yes, there's male privilege and there's also female privilege. This is not rocket science, people.
Systemic privilege. Now we've just acknowledged, both of us, that men are statistically much more likely to be the victim of a violent crime. We're statistically much more likely to die at the workplace. Okay? Now, this is something that matters to me and perhaps not to you, and then that's okay. We can disagree. I don't believe...
It's not that it doesn't matter to him. It's that the subject is to prove there is male privilege. That doesn't mean there is no other privilege by any other group.
Believe that the man who is 70, 80% more likely to have a violent crime committed against him is privileged, whether it's committed by another man or not. Now, I would agree, maybe we could find common ground in here. What I'm talking about
This is a weird, Crowder says SJWs are always talking about who's the bigger victim. If you have if you have a vigil for gay people who were killed in Orlando and someone shows up and says, oh, we're not talking about black gay people enough, and I don't see much representation there. That is playing a game of who's a bigger victim, okay? And here, we have a similar thing. And we're back. Oh, that was someone at the door delivering food that I just shopped for. And that's my privilege of living in New York City and having these sort of delivery things happening. Doesn't mean that no one else has any other privilege. It just means that's my privilege. And it's a woman's prerogative. Okay, continue.
I don't want to see women victimized. As a matter of fact, most men don't. And the only way a woman would be able to defend herself against a violent crime, though statistically far less likely than that of it occurring with a man, would be a mechanical advantage in a firearm. Would you not agree?
Yeah.
Statistically far less likely occurring with a man. I don't know what that means, but yeah, with a firearm. Okay, and this guy just agrees. So I guess he's on board with the Second Amendment. He's an ally, isn't he? So are you going to just attack him or what? Well, first of all, I don't think that's the only way for a woman to defend herself. You can carry, for example, pepper spray. In fact, you could argue that since pepper spray just incapacitates an attacker and not necessarily kills them, that you might hesitate less to pull out a pepper spray from your purse and just go wild with it. While you might hesitate until the last moment to actually take out a handgun. So perhaps non-lethal things like pepper spray might actually be more effective at deterring things. But hey, guns. Okay, well, I guess let's have all women carry guns concealed in New York City.
Sure.
Sorry, it's not New York City. It's probably another city.
Sure, yeah, but this is not about guns.
No, it is.
No.
It's about protecting women, and it's about keeping women from being victimized.
Okay, cool. That's but men have also, but you want to talk about male privilege, so we're talking about differences between the genders. You want to talk about firearms real quick? Let's end that conversation with this. Men and women do not have a different accessibility to firearms.
No, they don't.
Men and women have a different accessibility to firearms? I'm not sure. This I don't agree with. Or did he say, maybe he says they have equal accessibility to firearms. If that's the case, if they have equal accessibility, well, then I guess they can just go get them, right?
Male privilege. So we're talking about differences between the genders. You want to talk about firearms real quick? Let's end that conversation with this. Men and women do not have a different accessibility to firearms.
They have a different...
No, they don't.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's a great thing.
This has nothing to do with gender privileges.
There you go. There's no privilege there as far as access to firearms. What I'm talking about is wanting to have fewer... Let me boil it down in a way that maybe you might...
Okay, so we talked about firearms, and we talked about there are only two genders. But have we talked about the day-to-day experience of women in the world? Look, a day-to-day experience of a man, okay? Men can identify with this, is thinking, oh man, I like that, let's say single man. Hey, I like that woman. I want to approach her. I want to talk to her, ask her out, but I'm probably going to get rejected. Okay? That's a day-to-day experience of men that women don't really have and are often bored listening about. Okay? Does that mean there's women's privilege? Yes. And the same way, a day-to-day women's experience is not something that men are typically aware of unless they listen to it. And yes, that also exists. And that is a male privilege of not having to deal with it.
Be reductive. I would like to read far more headlines, okay, that say rapist shot dead in a ditch by a woman with a .38 special than woman raped on campus because of some concealed carry law.
Okay, so let's unpack this. And this is sort of a very conservative mentality. Do you really want to hear those headlines? Do you really want people shot dead in altercations that could have been avoided a lethal shot? Okay, I don't know. I mean, if you take the law into your own hands is what you're talking about. So yes, I suppose if instead of vagina dentata with teeth, you would have vagina with a gun, then yes, I suppose that's one way to get to deal with it. But most people want the police to be involved because then there's an arrest, then there's due process, and then you find out what happened. Okay, if you're saying that a woman shot a man and all he did was maybe, I don't know, I guess she would be on trial for the murder, and then she would have to prove it was self-defense, and then she would have to prove that it was self-defense against rape. I mean, it still involves a court. It still involves all this stuff. So I don't know why you want to see all those headlines, because then the issue would be, oh, well, he wasn't really all the way raping. He was just sort of kind of, coming on to me and I shot him. Yeah. So either way, you can't get around this. There's a pendulum that can swing one way or the other way. And laws are sort of this middle ground that the courts can sort of decide whether the rape really happened or it didn't and what consequence. I'm not sure if death is necessarily should be the penalty for every single thing that can be called assault. For example, if you grab someone by the arm, that's assault. I don't think you should be shot dead for that. I don't think you should be assaulting women. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think you should be killed for lighter forms of assault. I don't know. I mean, that's an open jury. Maybe many conservatives do think it's better to just shoot people. And that's an interesting, that would certainly be a deterrent. Many men would think twice and try to get the woman when she is naked. That's the other question. What if they're both naked? There's no gun. Okay. So what happens at that point? What happens at that point? Anyways, things are not just so simple. You could solve everything with a gun.
Okay, so I
would
don't
like
want
to see a
female
lot of
victims.
headlines that have nothing to do with rapists.
I would exactly.
You know, why
But how do you stop
why
it?
do you have to
Rape
carry
is
a gun
illegal.
to kill a male rapist when that male could just not rape in the first?
Okay. You don't have to kill a male rapist. First of all, you have to prove that he raped, and then you have to punish him. I don't know if the woman would want, well, I don't know. I mean, again, there's a line between doing nothing and complete rape. Okay. There's a continuum. On which point of the continuum is it justifiable to kill someone who's doing it? I don't know. It's a complicated subject. And if every person becomes judge, jury, executioner, it might create more problems than we already have.
Place.
I know. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be?
Fucking great.
Yes.
Do you know why?
Wouldn't
women
it be
are
great
so...
if men didn't rape?
Yeah.
Okay. So he got a cheap laugh out of this. But what did he really do? He basically said, oh, I agree with you. Yeah, but your whole thing is whether there is male privilege, right? Wouldn't it be great if men didn't rape? Yes. Yes, it would. Okay. Is there male privilege? Well, let's see. Is there adult privilege? Do children sometimes have less, should they fear things more than adults? Yes, I think so. Does that mean adults have a certain experience or children have a certain experience that adults don't have? Yes. Does that mean adults have more privilege, quote unquote, as a result? Yes. So I don't understand, again, if you don't agree with that or you're not even addressing it. Look how much time has passed. Look how much commentary I've given. Have you even once acknowledged what he's saying? I don't know. I mean, you're talking about there are two genders. You're talking about let women have guns. You're talking about wouldn't it be great if men didn't rape? Yes. Okay. But now address that women have a different experience than men in the world.
Who are you arguing with? You're Don Quixote fighting windmills, man. We all agree rape is bad. You think I'm here saying rape is
They
good?
get away with it.
They don't get away
They
with
don't
it.
get away with it?
No.
They get away with it on this motherfucking campus.
And she goes, wow. Now she's not bored anymore. Listen, this comes to the point of whether women are getting raped, okay? And especially on this campus, I guess. He specifically chose this campus because apparently something's going on this campus. Look how many people have raised their hand earlier in this cut. That probably happens later. I don't know, okay? But now Crowder's going to go into his other video because, that's all he thinks about left versus right. Build the wall. Don't build the wall. I don't know. Are you for Reagan? Are you for Donald Trump? Who cares? We're talking about this. But no, he's going to now talk about how much there's a rape culture on campus and whether it's a myth. I don't care if it's 1 in 5 or 1 in 50. Women are getting raped and they're worried about it. Wouldn't you be worried if something happened to 1 in 50 people?
Really?
Yes, they fucking do.
Okay,
My
give
friend
me names.
raped within the
Give me
first 2
names.
weeks of coming to the school as a freshman. She was a fucking virgin too.
That's
Milton
horrible.
Daniel Hall. You know what that motherfucker had to do? He had to move out of that hall.
But you had to move out of
That's
that hall.
about it.
Really?
Yeah, that's it.
So this was a rape.
That's
this
all
is
they do
interesting.
with it.
So you're getting very emotional.
Because
Okay?
this is serious.
Are you kidding me? So you see, this is, okay, so let's count the tactics. 1, oh, you're not really disagreeing with me. I also think this. Ha, 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 look, you're a Don Quixote with windmills. Oh, you're getting so emotional just because your buddy, apparently, or you knew someone who got raped. Oh, why are you getting emotional? Because it's serious.
Yes,
Yes, of course it's
I'm a
serious.
white privileged male. I can go. In my,
Yeah.
I can stay in my little bubble of TCU. I don't have to turn my back. I don't have to worry about my job, my income, or anything like that. I don't have to worry about getting raped.
Well, you should.
My friends do.
You should worry.
You should worry about getting raped, sir.
You should worry about your
No,
income.
'cause-
You should worry about communicating
No,
with
I'm
other. Let
saying I
me
don't have
finish
to worry
my
about it because
phrase.
it is not something
You
that is
should
very
worry
vulnerable
about
to me.
You should worry about communicating with adults. You should.
He wants to finish his thought, but now Crowder finally drops the bomb. He's like, I've been listening to you this whole time, and you cuss, sir, and you have been interrupting me, and you have been generally unpleasant. So there. And you have not made a single point, as I have stated earlier in my compilation, which I will make. So let him have it, sir.
Worry about treating other people respectfully because this will affect your future employment opportunities. You first came in here and talked about how you put on your hoodie, your headphones, you don't even look around you in the periphery. That's dumb. That's stupid. You should worry about your safety.
Oh, this guy's like, oh, love it. Hey, what happened to this woman who was like, that's right, women are getting raped? What happened to the actual point? Well, let's talk about his manners ad hominem.
That's fundamentally unintelligent. White, black, yellow, red, I don't care. It's not smart to do. It's also not smart to come in and say we should get men to stop raping, so that's going to help women. I'm not your father.
He's not saying we should get men to stop raping, although that would be a really good thing, and he and everyone agrees. He's missing the point. I mean, I don't know. It's pretty simple, I think. Anyone watching this can see. Men are larger than women. women have a different experience and they have to worry about things that men don't. There, period. Do you agree?
I'm not your father,
I would
but you come
not-
in here as
I
though you're going to
would
school
not-
somebody and cuss and yell and say you need to stop rapists.
I
Everyone
don't
here
think
wants to
I'm gonna
stop
school you. I don't think I'm
rapists.
What is with this cussing and yelling thing? It's like free speech, and we love free speech. Hey, we're we're never the police on free speech. But then what is this? What is leftists are ad hominem attacking these people. Everyone does this. Everyone does this. But I'd like to hear finally him address the initial point, like the one point.
School you. I think
Everyone here wants to stop rapists, okay? The point is,
Okay, look who's clapping. These guys. Some of them are obviously just agreeing with him. She's looking at them like crossed arms. What are you clapping about?
this kind of double
And this guy just finds it all entertaining.
speak and this kind of rhetoric and these kinds of false platitudes don't help women. Do you know what you're doing? You're
Oh, this is the low blow. You're the one victimizing women by the fact that you're just sitting down and answering my question and giving me the straightforward answer that women have a different experience than men. By doing that, you are actually victimizing women because you're a rapist, sir. You're a rapist in the abstract sense.
victimizing actual victims of rape. There is no 1 in 5 rape statistic. When you say
You're victimizing actual victims of rape. Okay. I'm going to be charitable here and say that he's not just segging into his video about there's no rape on campus. There's no 1 in 5 statistic. Look, even if there's 1 in 50, you'd still be worried about it. Okay. If it's happening to you or people that look like you or people who are as strong as you or whatever, same gender, same attractiveness. My point is that yes, he's now going to say to him, you, by simply sitting down and participating, are actually the problem, because by doing this, you are essentially denigrating the actual rape victims. You know, not the 1 in 5, but the 1 in 100. And you're cheapening what happened to them by calling everything else rape. That, I'll be charitable, that is a point that could be discussed, whether everything should be painted as rape, okay? Whether everything should be addressed in the same way. And whether a Me Too about getting a paper cut is the same as a Me Too about getting your arms hacked off, right? Not to minimize anyone's pain, but certain pain is extremely dwarfing other people's experience. So yes, that is a point that could be discussed. Is he actually in good faith going to discuss it? Let's see.
men get away with it, we allow men to get off scot-free with rape, it's not true,
Yeah, it
and
is.
you absolve people
Yeah,
of
it
personal
is.
responsibility,
I
leads
know
to
that.
a worse society.
He's saying men don't get off scot-free after they've raped someone. Well, how exactly? So let's say they did rape someone. We can't tell whether it happened or not after the fact. How are you going to prove it? It's not that easy in many cases. So let's say in this area right here, it happened right now as this conversation is happening, right? What exactly is the man going to do? I mean, what is society going to do? Many of these men are not going to pay the price because we're trying to be cautious as a society and presume people are innocent until proven guilty. So yes, you would think that the pendulum is currently on the side of being proven innocent, unless you can prove that the man actually raped. So yes, you're not right, Crowder. Many men do get off doing this.
Leads to a polarized campus. It leads to, God forbid, actual rape cultures like we see across the Islamic world.
Culture.
Wait, what? So by saying that women are having a different experience than men because they're weaker, that leads to an actually polarized campus, and therefore men hate women, women hate men, and that's how you get caste rapes like we have in, I guess, Hindu culture, or patriarchal societies like we have in Muslim culture. Very interesting. So everyone's going to become a Muslim because this guy answers his question.
In this campus.
Is there?
Yep.
Okay.
I, by the way, should say not every Muslim culture has this. We have a Christian culture. It used to be patriarchal as well. Jewish culture, Christian culture, Muslim culture, traditional cultures are patriarchal. I don't mean to necessarily single out and say that Muslim, but there are honor killings. Okay. I just don't see how a campus that is acknowledging the reality that this woman's experience is different than this man's experience is going to become the same as a society with, I don't know, child brides, for example.
Okay, and then what is the rape culture?
This is the rape culture at TCU is brewed up by, first of all, having twice as many women. Having twice as many, it creates a different social dynamic. Greek life.
So how do you change it?
Let me continue that first example. My friend who was raped within their first 2 weeks
It's
of
terrible.
college here.
Terrible. He really cares. Look at his face. A really caring face. Totally not about the next gotcha moment that is about to happen.
Having lost her virginity to rape.
It's terrible.
The criminal who was uncharged was
Does he have a name?
pledge. I'm not going to release
This
his
would go
name.
out to a lot of
The
people.
girl
I would
did not
love to
want
see
it-
him.
Okay, well, you know, you could dox the guy. I mean, that's one way to exact justice. And in fact, that's what society's used to do. You rape someone, you're going to get the hammer on you. And, you know, when you have this sort of mob mentality, often you could also be accused and slandered, and you could have the mob kill you as well, string you up. I believe that happened often with black men who were accused of being with white women. People didn't like that, for example. But throughout society, it could go either way, right? The law is a pendulum. The thing is, with due process, that happens less. But that means that some people get to go scot-free.
Girl, this is not mine. This is not my decision. She did not want to release his name. She doesn't want this to be a public thing.
Okay.
Don't judge her for that. So don't roll your head.
No.
Ugh. You see, again, I'm not sure how much on the continuum was this rape, was this not rape. I mean, but again, okay, if this is serious and she doesn't want to release it, why is that? If it's because she thinks that nothing will happen, she can't prove it, and nothing can be done to this guy, well, then there you go. That's an experience that she will have that men don't have. Okay, I'm not saying this happens to every woman. I hope it happens to less and less and less women. I hope that there's more consent, there's more understanding and listening to the other person. But this is happening, okay, and that is the point of this.
No. I am judging.
Okay. Well,
not her. I'm judging the decision.
You're judging her victim. So
I'm judging the decision. That's a bad decision because you know what? That guy could go forward and rape another woman. So the stupid false victim status, I don't want that guy to go out and rape somebody else. Blame the school because a guy raped her and she didn't give the name.
She didn't want to put the name out publicly because she did not want to be.
How do we stop a rapist if we can't charge him or get a name?
Here, let me
How do we stop a rapist?
I'm going to answer your question.
Okay.
Let me.
How do we stop that rapist from...
Crowder, you're getting so emotional. I don't understand. Why are you so emotional?
She made this decision. Stopping a racist would be to put him in jail.
Yes.
To have the punishments for rape to be so significant.
Because this is important, right, Crowder?
Not just taking away a swimming scholarship and attendance at Stanford for that rapist, but at this school, she did not want to put out the name and make it a public thing because she did not want to be associated with directly. This is a small school. She puts out his name, her name gets out there. She doesn't want that. She doesn't want to be known as a victim. Let me finish. The school, no. She did want to prevent.
Oh man, I gotta let this guy finish.
That same person or his affiliates from raping again.
Okay.
So she told the school.
Okay, so the school and police have his name, and there was
correct.
He was charged.
He was moved out of because he lived in the same hall as her, Milton Daniel. He had to move out of the hall. Both freshmen see each other for the rest of the 4 years.
So the police were given a name of a man who forcibly raped a woman, and you're telling me they just removed him from the hall. This is
the police. Okay, she told the school. Okay, now if the school investigated and there's no evidence one way or the other, or they interviewed, normally what schools do, whether it's from the first grade to college, they would investigate. That is their duty, right? They go investigate, and then they ask what happened. They try to piece it together. If there's not enough evidence, that's it. You can't. What are you going to do? So okay, he's going to get let off if there's a court case, because there's just not enough evidence to convict him. Okay. So if that's the case, and that's the case in many cases, then okay, we're just going to move him out of, just not going to see him again, at least, that's a prudent decision by the school.
The story?
When it comes to conviction, are there other things that are needed? Proof?
Yes.
Exceptional things. And in the state.
That's a big one. Will we not agree on that?
Yeah, obviously.
Proof is important.
Obviously.
Okay.
And so.
Yeah, okay. But again, can someone tell this guy that proof is not always available? I mean, how exactly are you going to prove that someone raped you? How does that always get left behind? Is it, we were having sex and I guess I can't prove it all the way. Well, then I guess Crowder would say he's not a rapist, right? Or what? Never happens?
When it comes to the practicalness of this event, it is, let me talk, because we talked about the culture. So I'm talking, going back to
I think he's being very nice. He's trying to really address what he's saying. I mean, listen.
Well, because they were Greek. They were pledges, the rapists.
Okay.
And you want to know what his brothers did when they found out about this?
I'm guessing something bad.
Mm-hmm. Correct, yeah. They did not go up to her and apologize and say, he's back.
But what is it?
At egg, so-and-so, Greek fraternity, enter Greek words. Does not back this. We do not represent this. No, they harassed her. They said, do not ruin this kid's life for one dumb mistake. He was intoxicated. He was this. He wasn't thinking straight.
Sure.
He thought you were cute. Okay? That's what they did. And that's why it's systemic. I was a part of a fraternity here. I left because 2 members were put on our version of our internal Supreme Court. They were given chance after chance after chance. They were in positions of power within the TCU community to where they were subject to incoming freshmen. They were subject to other girls. And they used that power in ways where they ended up harassing these girls, sexually assaulting these girls.
That's
and
terrible.
Within the fraternity, they were given...
Okay, well, Crowder, that's terrible. So what are you going to do about it? Well, I mean, your only tool is A, give all the girls guns, right? That's what you really want, I guess, and then the girls can shoot people. Or, number 2, prove that the guys did it and put them in jail. What other things can we do? I mean, according to Crowder, there's nothing else. And so I guess he agrees that by this point that women have a different experience than men in this area and on campus perhaps. But what does he suggest we do? Well, I guess arm everybody. Okay. To be fair, they're on the left acknowledging the problems, not necessarily coming up with solutions yet either. Some colleges, like I think at Columbia, they now said that the yes means yes kind of approach, which is that you have to affirmatively opt in. You know, hey, may I do this? May I do that? Yes, yes. Keep asking. I guess, look, you could have an app for this, right? You could record your entire encounter. I personally think that recording things, whether between police officers on duty or this, would at least furnish evidence of what happened. But unfortunately, recordings lead to other things, which is people using them for blackmail and just posting recordings of sexual encounters, which violates other laws. So I say it's the lesser of the evils, but again, I'm not a lawmaker. But it's not so easy to just dismiss that this is happening. He's like, yeah, okay, it's happening. It's so serious. Look at me. I'm serious.
Chance after chance after chance until they just became maybe inactive. Or they just did not, they were not big enough, they were not a part of the fraternity enough to where they would shed badness in the light, and that's why I left.
Can I ask a question?
Correct.
Okay, because I think we both acknowledge you jumped from a few topics there, so I'd like to kind of do it.
I hope I think we both acknowledge that we understand this problem and we have some common ground. No, of course not. He's just here to make fun of him.
Well, then hopefully we can move forward. So you mentioned that this man raped her. The school knew about it. The police knew about it. He was simply moved to another house.
I don't know. He didn't say the police knew about it. I think what happened was there's not enough evidence for him to get charged even. Okay. So if that's the case, yeah, you could call the police. And yeah, they may do something, but the end result will be nothing. So, yeah, I mean, it's not easy to solve these things.
Simply moved to another dorm. Then you said that the Greek house knew about it and basically was encouraging and they harassed her. Right? Okay. Do you have any proof?
By the way, before he says that, props to him for summarizing what he's saying. And yeah, about the proof. That's interesting. Does he have proof that these guys were harassing her? Let's see. How do you get proof of that? That's even less proof than the rape. I mean, does he just walk around with a video camera? Yeah, that would be nice. That would solve a lot of things if everyone just had video cameras everywhere. But the footage, you know what would be nice? Okay, I'm going to say this. Why not have these cameras? Here may be an actual solution. Cameras that record video that's encrypted. Okay. And this video, a layperson could not, decrypt so easily. This video is sent to a data center and is only subpoenaed in the case of an actual criminal investigation in a court case. Boom. Boom shakalaka. Okay. We need this with police body cams. We could install this in people's dorms, I guess. But the technology must ensure that no one can just peep and be a peeping Tom on everybody. But this is only decrypted, and this is stored everywhere all the time. And this is a surveillance society where it's decrypted only if a certain court and others who are unrelated to these people decide, hey, we have the cryptographic keys and we're going to generate, and we're going to see what happened in these dorms, okay, or on this campus. And they can reconstruct what actually happened. Yes, technology could actually improve solving these cases, but none of this is discussed here, obviously.
Eyewitness account. And that's probably one of the reasons why it was in the current. There was no GoPros everywhere, That's how it happened.
Ooh, wow. There's no GoPros everywhere. This guy touches on the solution.
That's how it happened.
We just said proof was really important. So any proof of you just gave this whole example to paint a picture of white male privilege on campus and this rape culture. Any proof?
And proof. I believe.
Proof. Okay, so let's be really clear here. He's saying that the experience of women is different than the experience of men who are larger at a college level and not as prone to being preyed upon sexually. Okay, as much as some men might hope for that, this is not the case. And so what happens is that that's what he's claiming. Is there proof of that? Yes. Talk to a lot of women and they will tell you this experience. Just like if you talk to a lot of men and you ask, well, do you get rejected a lot by approaching women and trying to start a relationship? Or, hey, did you get bullied on the playground physically? They will say yes. Women will typically not have that experience. So people have different experiences, and there's proof of that is abundant. Now he's conflating that with proof of a rape or proof of harassment later by Greek Delta Phi people. If there's no proof of that, that doesn't mean that the former thing is not happening.
Her, and
Okay.
and there was, you know, she lost to Virginia. There's stains. You know, there's blood. I'm sure if she wanted to call the FBI, make a big deal out of have her name and face painted everywhere. I'm sure.
Okay.
Yet there isn't the existence of DNA proof.
Okay, so here's my point. We have to find some common ground and agree on some premises here. So no proof there that you would be able to present that anyone has presented.
You may be going.
That's not true. He just said there's DNA, possibly, and other things and stains that could be analyzed. But again, sometimes there is proof. Sometimes there isn't proof. Sometimes a rape is a real terrible rape. Other times it's something where a person's not really feeling it or they have a headache, and I don't know. I don't know. It's always good to be mutually respectful and listen to the other person and, you know, kind of have feedback physically and emotionally and just really have empathy. And I guess that varies in the population of people. So you're going to get all these variations and not everything is going to have proof. We still have to deal with it. So let's put GoPros everywhere and let's encrypt the video and let's store it on servers and let's have the court systems generate the keys to decrypt it and find out what really happened.
But of assuming that she wasn't raped, and I would strongly advise you don't.
I'll take it under advisement. But I do have proof that there's not a rape culture on campus.
You have proof there's no.
Yeah,
rape
the statistic.
So here he goes. You got to change the sign, man. You can't just use one sign and do every video about the same topic. But okay, continue. Please tell us how there's not a rape culture because it's not 1 in 5. Okay, fine. But what if it's 1 in 50, which a lot of studies do actually support that. The study that's 1 in 5, the people who made that study themselves said that it was not something that should be quoted to support the statistic because it was opt-in, because there's a lot of things that were wrong with it. People were self-selecting themselves. That's not how you do a study. But studies do bear out something like 1 in 50. Okay, so go ahead, Crowder. I guess it's so important to you that this woman got raped and other people got raped that you're going to talk about how there's no rape culture on campus. And that is your ideological point that you're going to drive home and win the debate. Go ahead, sir.
Statistic is not a 1 in 5 rape. According to the FBI, it's 1 in over 1,800. Okay. There's not a rape culture on campus in the United States.
According to the FBI, it's 1 in over 1,800. Okay. Well, there, you got to see where those stats are coming from. One is a reported rape, right? The one that is actually investigated and reported to the police, which I don't know if this one even was, and proven, okay? And the others are things that haven't even reached the level of reporting the rape. So there are, I think, NCDS, or I forgot what the studies are, that FBI actually looks at people self-reporting it off the record. And the number is much higher than the ones that are convicted or proven. So I'm not sure which statistic he's referring to, but in the comments below, you're welcome to actually post the actual links to the statistics. From what I remember, hang my hat on, it's about 1 in 50 is sort of where it shakes out.
United States, these rapes do not occur without consequence when there's proof presented. The constant is
when there's proof presented. Okay, and in how many cases is the proof really presented? And to whom is it presented? Does the person, what is the consequence? That's a very vague sort of, Wikipedia would call this weasel words. Can we delve into the actual issue? Of course not, because this is entertainment. This is left versus right. Either, okay, this guy's on the right, this guy's on the left, but if you film them from the back, this is all about bashing leftists, and that's all this is about. I hope I showed you that the substance was barely addressed in this, and certainly what Crowder said over here, which is, he said barely anyone gave him any substance at all. I don't know what the other people did, because he only focused on this one guy, and this guy totally gave him substance, which he didn't engage with, but he just sort of addressed other red herrings and straw men, like he's doing here about the rape culture. Anyway, let's finish this out.
Is not men getting away with rape. I'm certainly not convinced of that. I'm not convinced by your account. It sounds like a harrowing account. I feel horrible that had occurred. So
I feel horrible, and this guy is not buying it.
You think I feel good about that?
I don't.
But my point is,
I say don't give a. I'm
saying, well, then listen. You can ascribe motive all you want, but I do have
controversial to get some laughs from some people.
I actually like this guy a little more because he's being like, he's being very meta. Okay, he's being like Deadpool over here, and he's basically saying, dude, even though I'm in your video and you're gonna edit this video later to make me look like a fool, you don't really actually care. You just care about scoring ideological points on us, man. Anyways, kind of like this Deadpool breaking the fourth wall thing.
Other people down?
Who came in and insulted somebody? Who came in here and insulted someone? The only person who's insulted anyone all day here, all day, is you. You came in cussing and yelling and swearing.
No, because I'm pissed.
I get it.
It's serious.
I get it.
When you say there's no rape culture and you have a proof of that, you say you don't have the statistics.
I do have proof and there is no rape culture.
If you're a girl, you don't got to go out. You don't want to put out that.
He wants to bait him into talking about statistics about rape culture. Let's just for a moment define our terms. A lot of these things are solved if you define what you're talking about. What is a rape culture. Okay, well, this guy just said, for example, I want Crowder to define that. I'm just going to talk about it, okay? Is this not rape culture if the brothers of this guy kind of told the girl, listen, you know, he was drunk, he didn't really mean to go that far, come on, don't ruin his whole life from this one thing. And yes, you know, if she makes up something and ruins his life, then that's terrible, right? And again, there's no proof, so his life being ruined, I guess, is limited to him moving out of the dorm. But sometimes it's worse. Sometimes when you're an accused sex predator or whatever, and just that accusation could get you in trouble. So even if it's not true, even if it's later proven untrue, the allegations is all that makes the news, especially if you're famous. Now, that's not to say that, you know, it could go either way. There's truth to many things, and there are things that have been over-exaggerated for a particular purpose. But to say that you're sure there's no rape culture, okay, well, these guys are basically saying, yo, this guy, he went too far, he just got drunk, like, get over it, like, stop doing this. And they kind of shut this girl up a little bit and kind of intimidated her, and she doesn't want to really pursue this. I don't know what rape culture is. Could you define it in a way that excludes this type of thing? Because I would imagine that kind of thing happens all the time. If you have young guys, kind of, you know, bros before H's, right? And you got all this alcohol on campus. What do you think always is going on? Like, I'm not saying this doesn't happen outside of campus. It certainly may happen even more. And maybe on campus, women are safer. I don't know. But to say that there is none of this, and this is all a myth, is a bit overblown and a bit of a stretch.
I was raped. You don't want to do that.
You don't want to be raped if you're a girl.
Obviously, we were talking about the statistics.
No, but you said you don't want to go for
1 in 5%.
Yeah, there is no rape culture in the United States campus.
He's baiting him. He just wants him to say, yes, there is a 1 in 5 statistic. And then he's going to, like, whip out the FBI thing. Where's your binder, dude? I don't know. I hope your producer has it. Maybe it's under here.
Right. And the statistics don't reflect
He's got binders full of women down here somewhere.
that. So if you had proof...
Statistics are you reading?
The statistics of according to the FBI.
10% of women and 12% of men are raped on college campuses.
Incorrect.
This is the biggest research university, Columbia University statistics.
I would love for you to come and sit down when you have the microphone, and I would love to talk about that with you. Now, you see, this is why. This is not me being rude. Same thing I gave Chantel.
I don't know if this is being rude. I mean, coming to a campus and saying, well, you know, that's really terrible. Your friend got raped. Really terrible. Look at me. I'm not smiling. It's just terrible. Well, let's talk about how there's no rape culture, and, you know, it's terrible that these guys totally seem to take his side and intimidate her. Is there any proof that he did it? No. Well, there's no proof that he did it. I guess case closed then. I'm not sure that is being rude, but it's certainly being very provocative. I'm not a big fan of trigger warnings or, safe spaces, but honestly, like, you might be pissing people off, and some of these people, the women, might actually have experienced something like this. So what do you expect them to reply to you if they're having a personal experience which may not have been full rape, but also not totally pleasant? What do you expect people to react to you as? But you're not being rude, okay? You're being very respectful by saying all this.
Chanel, sorry, Chanel, I apologize. See, she's not going to give me guff for it. She sees it was an easy mistake. I wanted her to have her opportunity to speak. I don't necessarily agree with her, but I would say it was very respectful. You were cussing, yelling, coming in, a little bit emotional. And
look, it's okay to be emotional if you know a person who got raped, and this guy is totally not about taking that seriously to the point of actually investigating the dynamics and the consequences. But he just wants to score ideological points about statistics, get out of there, post a video about how liberals are idiots. Yeah, you might get a little emotional by simply trying. The emotional, reaction is a normal human reaction to say, look, this thing is freaking important. Listen to me, okay? That's why you're getting emotional, just like Crowder had been doing back here. But whatever.
I want you to have your opportunity to speak as well. And so it's disrespectful for her to yell out. We're having a conversation between
I disagree.
two people.
This is not about cement. This is not about being...
I just want to say Crowder has his rules, you know, just like the transporter has his rules. No names, you know, never open the package, and I forgot the third one. The point is that here we got this, seatbelts maybe. So Crowder has his rules, which is that one person at a time. Totally understand. Just like the transporter, you don't want to get into massive altercations. You know, I'm sure this guy verbally has the same jujitsu skills as the transporter. But my point is, you don't want to get into that. You want one-on-one fights, and that's it. So he's enforcing his rules. Totally get it. Totally get it. However, to the other people, that seems kind of weird. Okay? And they're entitled to say, well, in a normal conversation, an ICU professor citing statistics is perfectly entitled to correct you.
Like, we're not in a parliamentary system where you're not allowed to interrupt and shit like that. This is important.
You're actually allowed to interrupt in a parliamentary system. You're talking to someone who comes from Canada. We have a parliamentary system.
Well, he's right about that. They interrupt like Oh, they interrupt so much. It's kind of very interesting, actually. Listen to some of those Justin Trudeau's speeches.
Shut the fuck up with facts.
Shut the
Thank you
fuck
very
up,
much.
yeah.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
That's
There you
always
go.
good.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Now get out of here. All right, we got to end this so we get the next person, right?
Hey, did you enjoy this video?
Not really.
Here's the thing. You're here. This is the end of it, so we don't care because you already watched it. But if you really didn't like it and you want to justify it, leave a comment below telling us
No, I actually made a whole video telling you why.
You didn't like the video. And if you liked us, let us know. And subscribe to the channel. Because that lets the overlords at YouTube know that, you know what? You're all right.
Yeah, I'm sure that girl's all right, too.